Welcome to the latest printed press. My name is Aishan Jamal, and we're actually doing a very special broadcast tonight. We are connecting live to Northern Cyprus, and I will be interviewing N.K. Chavush, who is a very well-known author, writer. I don't know if we can connect to him now. Welcome.
Hello,
Hello,
Aycan.
listeners.
Teşekkürler. Thanks for inviting me to your show.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And it's very exciting for us to connect once again to North Cyprus. And obviously, you're a very well-known writer, novelist, and author. And it's a pleasure, really, to have you on my program. I think it's going to be a very inspiring interview. How is everything in Cyprus currently?
Well, and last week, the cases have risen, especially in Kyrenia. But I think it's getting under control again. I mean, can hear a lot of ambulances every 15, 20 minutes outside. So that's a bit nerve-wracking for some people.
Yeah, I know. It's hard times that we're going through here currently in London. There's been some changes announced yet again, with restaurants and pubs closing earlier, cases rising. It's scary times, but we've all got to pull together and work together and just be safe and keep positive, I think. But obviously, we're not here for that reason. We're here to interview the man behind the books. But first of all, I think what our audiences would really like to know is, when did you actually realize that you wanted to become a writer?
I mean, I've been writing ever since I was a small child. I enjoyed writing, but I never thought I'd be publishing books because I had other hobbies, such as music. I created 3 music albums in the past. And also, I used to do a lot of paintings. I had a few exhibitions, oil painting exhibitions. So the writing was more in the background.
Yes. How long does it take to write a book, approximately, for you?
Well, Playing in Paradise, my latest novel, took 2.5 years because of all the research behind it and all the editing.
Yeah. So what is like a normal writer's work schedule? Because I know that you do other things. We were talking about this backstage, and you said you're not a full-time writer. You do lots of other things. So how do you sort of schedule in a book?
Well, when I'm not homeschooling at the moment, when I'm writing a book, I about 2 or 3 hours a day, I write and research. And researching involves a lot of online research as well as talking to people.
Yes. Do you feel like your personal experiences? Yeah. Does your personal experiences, like obviously you said on homeschooling, so obviously you're a family man, you have children. Do you think that helps, having that personal experiences?
It does. I mean, how I published my first book was, which was Anto, Curse of the Hidden City, I was telling my son a lot of bedtime stories and reading him bedtime stories, and I ended up writing a young adult's fantasy novel.
Okay, so it was definitely an influence on you. That's really nice. Yeah, that's really good, actually. I mean, I think we need to encourage parents to be reading to their children at night, because it increases their reading ages and it really makes them bond with their parents more and relaxes them. So I think, that's a great thing that you've just talked about. I mean, as a teacher myself, I think that's brilliant that you're doing that with your son. And obviously it actually helped you as a writer to write your book. Everybody has a writing quirk, like some sort of thing that they always do in their books. Yes. Do you have anything like that?
Well, my style is colloquial storytelling, it's the way that we tell stories to one another. It's not very writery, and it's not overdone. And I like to think that reading my books is like reading a movie, which is what people enjoy.
So you think that your books are accessible to everybody? Yes. Like, it's not too complicated. You try and keep it quite simple. Yeah. Advice for those people out there who want to become writers, authors, etc. How did you get published? Like, what's the route to getting published? for yourself and generally?
The easiest way to get published is through Amazon, which is the route I took. I mean, there's obviously traditional publishing, which involves sending a manuscript to the literary agent.
Yes.
But the fastest way to get published is through Amazon or Barnes & Noble and other self-publishing platforms.
Okay. Is that the route that you took then? You self-published?
That's how I started.
Mm-hmm.
And Amazon also gives you their own ISBN, the International Standard Book Number. But obviously, with my last book, Playing in Paradise, I got my own ISBN. It's not an Amazon one, so that's another route that you can take.
Oh, okay, very interesting. Right, we've got some viewers already giving us comments, and I always, when a viewer, ask a good question, I sort of interject from what I'm planning on asking you to actually getting them to, interact with us. And Beaz Ashuk has said, "What kind of books does he write?" So let's go into some of the books that you've written, without giving the stories away.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned earlier, my first two books, the first two Anto books, are young adult fantasy books. So these are the covers here. So, and then after that, during the lockdown, I got encouraged to write a children's book.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is the children's book, Little Max's Night Adventure. And it's dedicated to my son.
Of course.
And then the book I wrote after, which I've been working on for the last 2.5 years, was Playing in Paradise, which is the most popular book at the moment.
Yes, and you sent to me. Thank you very much. I need a personal signature in it when I come to Cyprus, whenever that will be.
Whenever you like, yes.
Definitely. Especially my younger son is very much into football, so we'll dedicate it to him when you sign it.
Definitely.
But yeah, Playing in Paradise. Tell us about that. How did you come about writing a book about football or a footballer's life?
Well, I always wanted to write a book that's set in North Cyprus with a unique storyline, and also I wanted to touch upon some of the political issues. For example, the football team, for the embargo preventing the football teams from participating in European competitions. And also I wanted to expose the North Cyprus culture and the historical places, and also touch on some other political issues.
Yes, and it's a bit of a love story as well, I believe. There's a bit of romance in there.
Yes, it presents itself as a fictional sports novel, but it's so much more than that. There is romance, there is humor, there is history, there is politics.
Yeah.
But a lot of the feedback has been really good, and it's actually went up to number 34 in the sports fiction ranking on Amazon in the UK. So that's quite encouraging. And it's been selling in other countries as well, such as America and Brazil and Australia, Italy, India as well. So it makes me proud for me to show some of the issues and the history in North Cyprus around the world.
Yes, definitely. Good and Neil has given a very good question. It sort of interlinks with my next question. So we'll ask the audience's question first. They always take priority. She's put a very mixed genre of books. So you've written like children's books, like you said, fantasy books, and now where you're amalgamating romance, somebody's profession, so sports profession and romance all in one. So they're saying it sounds very interesting. Is it hard writing from different genres? And what inspires you? And I was going to actually say, how do you get your information or ideas? So we'll sort of interconnect the two questions.
Right.
A lot to think about there. We'll keep it on screen for you for a while.
Usually, I think of an idea and I expand on the idea. And that's when the different genre comes. Where if it's a good idea, it stays with me, and I built on it, and I try and link it to the other ideas, and I always try and give messages as well. And I didn't plan to write different genres, but it just happened that way, and the feedback has been quite good from all of them.
Yes, I think it's what inspires you, isn't it? And in that moment, whatever you're feeling or whatever you're interested in or whatever you think the current climate is around you, I think that's what you draw upon. I think you're a very environmental writer, whereas you sort of almost feed on, what's happening around you, which means that you're actually very current. I think that's why your books have been a success, because you actually are very good at tapping in on what the current situations are and what people are feeling. Like, probably it wouldn't surprise me if your next book is about COVID-19 or something to do with that,
well,
actually, to be honest with you.
And one book I didn't mention, it's actually a novella. It's a short story, which is also available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Is 63 Raven House, which takes place in London, North London, and that's a horror story. So it's another book I recommend. I haven't got a copy here because of the post situation at the moment. But if anyone does have a paperback copy, or that like a picture of it, because I haven't seen it yet.
Yes. What is the postage situation? What we can order on Amazon, but postage is difficult.
It just takes a very long time for the post to arrive at the moment.
Yes, definitely. That's right.
Because
that's right.
of the Gimmick as well.
Yeah, I understand. So when did you actually write your first book, and how old were you? Were you an adult, or were you a child when you first started to write?
I started 4 years ago, and I started writing my first book 4 years ago, and that was the Anto book, and it took me a year to write. And then that was followed by the second book of Anto, Journey to the Underworld. So I'm a very recent writer. I've only been writing for 4 years.
Okay, what made you get into writing then? What was that trick? Because you said you did lots of different things. What got you into it? What was that inspired? Do you have an inspiring moment, or was it always something that you wanted to do but you never had a chance to do?
I always enjoyed creative writing at school, and I was always writing short stories. And actually, the way I got into writing is one night after telling my son a bedtime story, and after I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom, I saw a little ant walking up the wall, and that gave me the story of the Anto series. I thought, what happens if there's a little tribe of men which ride on ants and live underground, who are unknown to humans? And that's how the story built up. That's how I got inspired in writing a 2-book series, the Anto series.
It just shows you really that moment of genius, the light bulb moment. You had that when you saw the ants. So there was an actual specific moment, because I thought maybe there might be, but sometimes people just know it within them. But obviously, like I said before, your personal experiences of becoming a dad in the first instance, having that experience of reading to him at night, obviously that wouldn't have happened if you weren't a dad. And then from there, feeling that inspiration, that creativity, and then seeing that image was all linked to actually going off and writing a very interesting story. I need to read that one, those 2 books, because that sounds amazing. Can you just give us a little synopsis of what those books are about?
They're about a little a miniature tribe of men who are living underground in a field, and they survive by stealing resources from the giant world, which is the what we are to them. And it has its own storyline as well, which I don't give too much away.
No, because we have to read the books.
But going back to your question about what made me start writing so later on in life is I always wanted to write a book, but because I was working in the hospital before, I never had a chance because of the on-calls and the busy schedule. And when I left the hospital and when I left radiography, which is what I was doing before, I had more time to write.
Yes, I mean, let's just talk about that, because we're getting lots of questions coming in, by the way, and lots of positive feedback from the audience. But that was going to be my next question, is what do you do when you're not writing? But let's just make it clear to the audience, you actually worked for the NHS, right?
I did, yes.
Yes, for many years in this country, in London.
For 15 years.
15 years. So obviously you had a very hectic, busy schedule. You know, there are heroes at the minute, the NHS workers, currently with the current situations going on. So, you know, I applaud you for doing that job. But obviously after that is when you know, got into the writing. Currently, do you do anything else apart from writing?
Well, I spend a lot of time with my family, with my wife and 2 children, and I still play some piano, but it's more nursery rhymes for them now. It's not
fantastic. That's brilliant. That's really good.
Yes, that's it really. I mean, living in Cyprus is a lot different to living in London, especially in the summer. So, but I spend a lot of time with the family when I'm not writing.
Yeah, which is good, which is great, because obviously, you know, that's something to be very grateful for, really. I think a lot of us have, during these times, due to the fact that we can't have such busy schedules in London that we're used to, have been able to do that with the lockdown, is actually spend time with our families. So I think it's just the current climates anyway, generally all over the world. Abby Hussein has said, do you think you were born to write?
I think I was, yes, because I'm writing at the moment, so I must have been born to write. And but I think I still have a long way to go. I'm always writing and trying out new material. So yes, I think the answer to that is yes. I was born to write because I enjoy it.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's a message to give off to, well, not just to our youngsters, but to everybody, but especially our youngsters, that you need to actually choose a profession that you enjoy. Otherwise, you can't be a success. Talking about family, you said you're a very family-orientated man. You're with your family currently, and you spend a lot of time with your family. And what do they think about your writing?
They're proud of me. My wife and obviously my kids can't read these books yet. But my parents are really proud of me as well, and my family, and they all they've been critical of my writing in the past, but they really enjoyed Playing in Paradise because it's more their genre. So they're proud of me.
Yeah, I'm sure family are always like
they're
that.
Always proud, yeah.
Yeah, critical, definitely. But at the end of the day, the most supportive though, and it's great to have people around you supporting you. I promise the audience I will be going through the comments because there's lots coming in. But I want to ask this next question now. What was one of the most surprising things that you've learned in creating your books so far?
Well, there's a lot of research that goes into books, especially if you're writing more for the adult world. And I think the most difficult part has been the editing part, because I have an editor, Marion Stewart, who I like to say hello to her from here, and 6 proofreaders. And they're always changing things and giving they're criticizing things. So it's quite a stressful process. After the book is written, it changes so much. To make it more readable and to make it flow better.
Yes, definitely. Because, you know, when you're in that creative buzz, you're just writing away, you're putting your ideas down. But obviously you need to proofread it, don't you? Many times.
Also the marketing. The marketing is very difficult, especially for a self-published author. If you don't go through the traditional publishing, because you're always doing your own marketing and PR, and it can be very challenging and very stressful at times. especially when you see that you're going down the ranks. But the reason why I write is because I enjoy sharing my work with everyone. A lot of authors and a lot of people ask me, "Oh, do you make a lot of money from this?" And it's not about the money; it's about sharing my work. I want people to enjoy my books, and I enjoy writing and sharing my work with them. So
yes, of course, it's not about, I think when you're a creative person, yes, obviously you need to have some sort of an income from it. Obviously we all do to survive, but essentially that's not the starting point, and that's not why you do it. It's much more about sharing your ideas, like you said, and making a difference. Like you said before, like, you wanted to share locations within Northern Cyprus and get people to know our culture a little bit more. And I'm sure within the book, without it being too obvious, without it being, a non-fiction book about Northern Cyprus, you're actually getting people to understand our culture a little bit more. And I think that's really, really important. And we need more people like you. So I commend you for doing that. Thank you very much. Honestly, I think that's really, really good. So yeah, if it's possible for you to be able to carry on without thinking about the finances, I think, yeah, definitely, write forever. And I'm sure, I think you've been quite successful for a self-published person to be, on the ratings that you're at. I think you're quite successful with that. And that's actually quite inspiring for people who want to actually publish their novels and their books, and maybe they've been rejected by publishing houses. The fact is that they can actually do it this way. So in that sense, it's very encouraging. And you've also said to us that you were self-published to begin with, but now you're actually getting interest in your being published. Is that correct? So, that also is very encouraging for people to see.
I mean, I had a lot of good feedback as well.
Yes.
I had a lot of people, because of the pandemic, lots of people couldn't, from the UK, couldn't come to Cyprus this year, and they actually thanked me for sharing the locations and giving them a taster of Cyprus, especially in the summer.
Yes.
And but I'm quite proud that a lot of people who never been to Cyprus before said they'd like to visit some of the locations now as well. So it's good that I shared a lot of the locations and the historical locations and many other places in Cyprus.
Yes, definitely. Because how else can people get exposed to Northern Cyprus? You're actually, like you said, on the sports, what was it, ratings you were saying to me earlier?
Fictional sports ratings, it went up to 34, but it's started falling a bit now. So,
which is still very high, though. How many people must be on that? That's a tremendous achievement.
I think there's about 100,000 or more books in the fictional sports.
I think you've been very modest. Yeah, I think that's a very, very big achievement, to be honest with you. And all of those people that are reading your book, obviously, because you're ranked at that level, they probably never even heard of Northern Cyprus before until they read your book. So that's it. No. You're exposing a lot of people to our country, which is great.
And a lot of people didn't hear about the embargoes before and the political issues.
Yes.
A lot of people thought that Cyprus is just one country, which it isn't. It's divided, and there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And Playing in Paradise touches upon a lot of issues about stepping on too many toes.
Yes. So definitely, and being recognised, that's correct. I think
it was a big risk. There was many times when I was writing it, whether I wondered if it's going to fail, but I took the risk, and it worked out, which I'm happy that it did.
Yes, I think we all need to work together to try and get recognised in whichever way we can, because we do exist. We are there, and we're, Turkish Cypriot, and for our identity to be known, obviously, it's very important. So I don't think you were doing anything controversial. You were just trying to put our culture to the forefront, which I think is a very commendable thing. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, but our football clubs can't even play against the mainland football clubs in Turkey.
Yes.
So there is a big problem there. Our sports clubs can't play in European competitions, and so there is a big problem there. And
an issue,
I know a lot of lawyers from my research who are working on it, working on overcoming this problem, because it's going to be a hurdle at least.
Of course. So let's just quickly go through. How many books have you written in total now so far?
5 books.
5 books. Which one's your favourite, personal favourite?
That's that's like asking which one my favorite child is. But there's always one secret favorite one, I think, isn't there? Even when it's a child.
Yeah, there's got to be. Come on, you won't tell us, no? But then, and then more people will.
I think my favorite one is because of the sentimental.
Yes.
Playing in Paradise, PIP, as I like to call it. Because, as I said, a lot of researchers went into it, 2.5 years of hard research, and it has its own unique storyline. So,
I think it's something true to your heart as well, like you were saying, because you're talking about the embargoes and the fact that it's difficult for players to play in other countries. I think it's something that's very current in the current climate. So obviously it's the most relevant, let's say then, not your favorite, but the most relevant. Obviously all the others are very good as well. We've got lots of comments. Zeynep has put Hayli Yayınlar, Bayram has put Hayli Yayınlar arkadaşlar. We answered that question. What kind of book do you write? I've covered that. And good Neil's comment. Lots of people saying iyi yayınlar. Mehmet saying selam. Nicosia, Cyprus. Abi Hussein, we looked at that question. Husmalam has put imagination is key in writing. What do you think about that? Is imagination quite important? Do you need an imagination to be a good writer?
You do. I mean, what I learned is anyone can write a book, and I encourage. They said that there's a book in everyone, but imagination is important, and to make it more dramatic, because at the end of the day, if you're writing professionally, you need to make it interesting for the reader. You need to draw the reader in, and that's important.
Yes, and Beyaz Ashik has put, you're very imaginative, would be interested to read your books. Fantastic. We'll put the links anyway at the bottom where people can order your books. Good Neil has put, does being in North Cyprus now compared to when you were in London change the way you write?
I never wrote a book in, I never published a book in England when I was living in England, but I'm sure it does. The surroundings would change the way you write. I think yes, because of the surroundings and the way you're feeling.
Will affect you. You probably think of different things to write about if you were here.
It would do, yes. I think
It would do, yeah. Abi Hussein has asked another question. Are you working on a new book at the moment?
I started a new book, but I don't want to give too much away because I've written a couple of chapters at the moment, and I don't even know if it's going to work out. But so far, the feedback has been positive from my editor. So
as you're writing, do you get them to edit as you're going along, or do you actually do it right at the end?
Well, with the first couple of books, I written the whole book. I written the manuscript. They edited it and sent it back to me, and I changed things and sent it back to them. But it was a longer process. As Playing in Paradise was a longer book, we done it chapter by chapter. So it was written, then rewritten, then edited and re-edited. So and then proofread, and then lots of things were changed. So it's a long process. It can be quite stressful at times.
Yes, I can imagine. We're actually already in the last 5 minutes, but we could carry on doing this for another half an hour. But what do you have any suggestions to help those people out there who want to become writers or are young writers? What would you advise them to do in this whole process?
Well, write as much as you can. And if you're writing your first book, don't give up. A lot of people give up halfway through the book. I say if you're feeling bored of the book, give it a couple of days rest and go back to it, because if you put it to the side, it will just make it longer and longer, and you'll forget about it. So once you start writing a book, try and get it done without giving too many gaps. Basically try and finish the book, because if you finish your first book, it will be easier to write the next one.
Yeah, definitely. So not to give up, to persevere. When you hear from your readers, what sort of things do you say? You said that you've had very positive feedback. Anything that has been long lasting?
I think the most positive feedbacks with Playing in Paradise have been people who've been saying thank you for taking us to Cyprus in difficult times like this. A lot of people who are going to come to Cyprus, and also a lot of people who never even didn't know much about North Cyprus, and who want to come to North Cyprus now. So I'm happy that Playing in Paradise has made a difference in their lives. And hopefully once the COVID is over, we'll get some more tourists visiting the locations and Playing in Paradise.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I mean, that all sounds really positive. Yeah. I mean, we look forward to your new novel as well. Obviously, won't give away anything about it, but hopefully I'm sure it will be completed, and it will be another great read. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. For our viewers, definitely, I've started to read it as well, Playing in Paradise.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I've read a few chapters and it's very, very interesting. And like I said, it's got a lot of different things. It's not just about sports, it's political. There's a romance, very much informative with the locations of Northern Cyprus, getting to know our culture. Anything else you'd like to add? And
if anyone has, if anyone enjoys any horror books, I recommend 63 Raven House as well. And this is what the cover looks like.
Oh, okay, brilliant. Oh, lovely.
And that came out. Yes, that came out a couple of weeks ago. It's a short story. It's only 50 pages, but it's very frightening. So if you like a good fright, I recommend it. Might be made into a movie then. It will probably be made into a movie at some point. That would be interesting, especially the fact that you've got all this varied, creative background. It wouldn't surprise me. Horror stories, I don't know. I like to read them. I'm not sure about watching them, but reading, yes, I shall read that one. And there's something else I'd like to mention, as because of the interview today, I made my ebooks, 63 Raven House and Playing in Paradise, free on Amazon ebook download. So they're free to download today. Fantastic. Just for today. So how can our readers do that? What do they do to get that free download? They go to Amazon and write Playing in Paradise or 63 Raven House. Maybe you can have the links as well. And they're free downloads. They're free promotional downloads, because I wanted to share it with our viewers. Fantastic. So all our viewers watching out there, free downloads, we will share the link also. And when we share it with you, more than welcome for you to put the link as well, so that everyone can do it. And a few reviews on Amazon would be good as well, because that exposes the book a little bit more when there is reviews. Definitely. Kind reviews, possibly. Of course, yeah. So everybody, please review the book as well and put your comments on Amazon. That will be a great help also. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. Thanks for inviting me again. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you again very soon to talk about your other books and your next one. But it's been a pleasure. Good luck with everything. Very inspiring interview. And I look forward to signing your book when you come to Cyprus. And anyone else who might has a copy that would like to it's signed, I'd be happy to sign it for them when they come to Cyprus. Definitely, inshallah, that will happen very soon. Thank you very much. Pleasure. That's it from us at Eurogench TV, the latest printed press. Have a lovely good evening. Thank you. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Kalitenin, güvenin, hızlı teslimatın adresi Ancon Furniture. Ancon Furniture ailesi olarak yeniliklerle hizmete devam etmekteyiz. Dünyada bir ilk ürünlerimizden full otomatik açılır kapanır sandıklı bazamız. Bir dokunuşla açılan, bir dokunuşla kapanabilen, bayanlarımıza, yaşlılarımıza kolaylık sağlayabilen sandıklı bazamız mağazamızda hizmetinize sunulmuştur. Yıl sonuna kadar full ortopedik baza seti alan her müşterimize 2 adet full ortopedik Memory Visco yastık hediyemizdir. En iyisini biz yapana kadar daha iyisi yok. Ancon Furniture.